Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another Fired Up Friday with my friend Tiff. So happy to have you here today and for us to be able to have this conversation because, of course, always there is so much for us to talk about. And I try to just pick a few things because there is so much we could go on for hours. But today, I kind of would like us to talk about America 250 because, the 4th of July is coming up and we just celebrated Juneteenth. And I think an important part of that was the Obama Center opening as well. I feel like that's our official America 250 celebration.
Pretty
But
much.
then I'd also like for us to talk about the elections a little bit, because there's a lot of things wrapped up into that. And then some of the recent rulings by the Supreme Court. And I think that'll be enough to fill our time.
Well,
So,
can we start with the elections first? 'Cause-
yeah,
oh my God.
yeah, get into it.
All right. Well, listen, there's been a lot of drama for the whole entire week over this election. And I knew January, Lord, June 23rd was going to be an interesting day because I kind of saw where we were heading. I said this like 3 weeks ago. I was like, oh boy, my primary is that day. New York's primary is that day. It's going to be a mess. And it surely lived up to that because it was a goddamn mess on Twitter and on these apps. Everybody has their opinion about the DSA and establishment Democrats and how we move forward with the party. And then you have the centrists versus the progressives. And there's way too many labels, as we've talked about before. Okay. So we are now
Mm.
factioned into different groups, and everybody is now like clawing at each other. But that doesn't really make for a strong team, right? Because at the end of the day, we need to be a strong team to beat the other people, which is the Republicans on the other side
The
who
fascists.
are in control of our government now. So the goal is to defeat them, not defeat one another. And I think that is kind of where I want to start this is, there was lots of conversation about what Jamie Harrison had to say about the party and the fact that, if you want to destroy the party, then why do you want to run as a Democrat if you don't like the Democrats? So I have thoughts about that because I do think that there are different types of people who are part of this conversation. One, there are people that legitimately, and I did a video about this a while ago, where about the different types of people on the left, right? Because Trump likes to use the radical left. But what is really and truly the radical left, right? The radical left is more so people who they want to have a revolution. They want the
They
party.
want to tear it all down.
They want to tear it all down and they want to start from scratch. But realistically, in the world that we live in, there are two parties in this country, and you either are a Democrat or a Republican, or you remain a non-affiliated voter. Those are the choices you have now. In some states, like yours, you have the ability to vote in elections that are primaries. In my state, you can't do that. Democrats can vote for Democrats and Republicans can vote for Republicans. Is there a case to be made for open primaries? Of course. Of course there is. I mean, we probably should have open primaries, but we don't in New York, nor do we have it in Maryland. So when I think about this conversation, I say to myself, okay, well, there are definitely people who want to destroy the Democratic Party. I call them anti-Democrats. That's what I call them. I've always called them that. I have no shame in calling them anti-Democrats. They don't like the Democratic Party. They don't even want to fix the Democratic Party. They just want to tear the party down altogether. The question is then, what do you have? Because there's only two parties. I mean, you can be a Green Party person, but then that's kind of a waste because they never win elections anyway. So, what is it that you guys want? Because I'm okay with the people who want to fix the party, make the party better. I think we all want to do that in our own way. I want to do that as well. There's shit that I cannot stand that Democrats do, but
Or
I'm
don't do.
or don't do, right? I mean, I was literally just watching MSNBC or MS Now, what it's called, and they were talking about Schumer and Jeffries and the fact that, Chuck Schumer wants, he loves his strongly worded letters, and they want Democrats to fight. And the thing is, we agree, most of us, on about 90% of things. There's 10% of stuff that we tend to deviate on, maybe like Medicare for all, how obviously Israel Palestine is one of the other things that we differ on. But when it comes to, well, what should come to this democracy, that's not something that we should be differing on. How we get to the place where you want us to go is a totally different thing. Because like I said, there's things that I want that need to change within the party. We have to demand that. No one wants what we call the status quo. I
Right.
mean, it's just so frustrating to hear this conversation, because people are not, to me, living in reality. And I'll let you speak, but I have some numbers to spew, because I love my numbers.
Yes, yes, you are the numbers queen, and I love it. I don't do that. My eyes glaze over. I am the story. That's how I am fed. But I understand the importance of the numbers, and I get the top takeaways. So I love you people who dig into the numbers. But for me, I think that, of course, I don't live in New York. You have roots in New York. So I know you probably, understand the politics there a little bit better than I do. I'm looking from an overview, a broader view. And what is disturbing to me, because just as you said, I think the important thing is that we focus on saving our democracy. I know people don't like to hear it or whatever, but surely at this point, people can understand that democracy equates to freedoms and rights and other things that they can see being taken away. And the fights, the intra-party fights that are going on, diminishes our power and our ability to gain power, to take back our democracy. And I feel like, of course, the sources of it are rooted in a lot of psyops that started by foreign agents, but many of the people here within our country have, taken on bits and parts of it and used it to their own benefit. So this is where I'm going with the DSA. Again, you and I have already had the conversation about labels. I hate that because the Democratic Party, by and large, is a progressive party. Their platform and policies are progressive. Black people are and always have been progressive because we have had to fight to gain progress and to gain rights in this country. And the DSA, their official kind of platform and mission seems to be that I don't know if you've seen it or not, but it's been around for a while, but it came back in the timeline again recently. The goal of the DSA, and had clips from various chapters around the country about what they wanted. And essentially, they want to take over the party. And I have a problem with that because I don't see that as being any different than what they, are up in arms about with Bibi. I mean, because, he's going into Gaza to take it over, an infrastructure that has already been built and set up by the Palestinian people. So I don't see what they're doing as any different, trying to come into a party that's already has an infrastructure that, whether they agree with it or not, has been in place for a long time. And also the fact that its loyal voting base is Black women. And I don't see the DSA writ large. Uh, I'm not saying every individual member who, flies that flag, um, thinks this way, but I see them as not caring about Black the Black community's issues and wanting to diminish that and our voices. And what it reminds me of, because I'm a history geek, is that kind of this same fight. The fear for me is this is the same thing that was going on in Nazi Germany. You had two kind of leftist fashions, the communists and the KDP, and they were fighting with each other. And meanwhile, the Nazi party was getting stronger and stronger. And it wasn't until they were at the door of some of these different factions that they got the bright idea, hey, we need to work together against the real enemy. And that's what I see us kind of repeating here, and why it
Yeah.
disturbs me.
Yeah, and I think I'm looking at like different articles and things. So today I saw that there's like a group of 13 like people will call centrists that are in the Congress that are like, no, we're capitalists, we're not democratic socialists, we're against this. Here's the thing, they have a right to feel how they feel. They're in purple districts, right? And we do have a Big Ten party, but there is no majority without those 13. That's the part that I think people don't understand. We have no majority unless we win those 13 seats back. So while we may disagree on policy, or we may disagree on, who should be in charge of the DNC or who should be in charge of the party, maybe we won't have a majority if these folks don't win. So we can disagree all we want. Yes, the DSA won in 3 separate seats, 2 in New York and 1 in Pennsylvania. These are blue, super blue seats. 2 of them were open seats where we had older Democrats leave. And we also have a seat that was flipped, which was the one that happened this week, which was New York 13, where SBI ended up losing to the woman named Daria Lisa. And what I see about that is there's also an argument to be made about some of these older Democrats that are in these seats that think that these seats are guaranteed to them. They're not guaranteed to you. Espaillat should not have been starting to run his race legitimately when Mamdani decided to endorse. Mamdani wouldn't have even endorsed if he thought that this girl could not win. That's the part that people are missing. She started running in November. So she was building her coalition, whatever you want to say about it, whether you say it's the gentrifiers or the non-gentrifiers, the Black folk, the Latinos. There's all these different kind of ways that people are spinning this low turnout. The issue was that man should have ran his race better, because he should have never been in a position where Mamdani should have even endorsed. Let's be real about this, because if he was leading that much before May 29th when he endorsed, then he would have won. But he didn't. He wasn't running his race. So there's criticism on all sides of this to me, because you can't just expect that you're going to win. That's not how this works. That's
I mean, isn't that what
years.
Right. Isn't that what AOC did? Wasn't that her race somewhat similar to that?
Yes, they keep getting caught slipping. It's happened 3 times already. So it happened with Joe Carley, where AOC caught his behind slipping, and he was in leadership too. But these folks do not want to campaign. They're fine asking people for money, but being on the streets, talking to people, these people have time. They don't have any other job. Let's be real. They don't have any other job. They are spending their time campaigning. So that's how she was able to flip the seat, and she's going to hold that seat for as long as she wants to hold that seat at this point. Then you also had Engel, who Jamal Bowman beat out, which was stupid in itself, because he started running at the last minute too. So you're getting people to run in these districts that have the time, have a messaging that is against these establishment Democrats who are not doing their job. They have bills that they can point to and say they didn't do X, Y, and Z. But I'm sorry, but you should be, from the time that you win in November to the time that you need to run your next primary, you should be working your district, not just waiting until the last minute to run. So that's how you get caught slipping.
Exactly. And again, like I said, as an older person, I get their frustration with how slow things are moving. I also think that by and large, the Democratic um, electeds, especially those in Congress, but I feel like kind of across the nation, even in state houses, they got caught on the back foot with this fascist movement. Like they really were expecting, things to just kind of keep going along and, Trump to be, kind of problematic, but that a lot of things were going to still be able to keep him in check and
Mhm.
keep working. And when they realized that they weren't, it's like they had to get together in the huddle, but they're not even agreeing in the huddle on strategy and what to do. And I just feel like they are still liking a lot of strategy. But even in that, like you said, they got caught slipping. Even in that strategy, I feel like the people who are running in to, take advantage of the vacuum there still need to be aware of where we are in this country and the fact like they seem more intent on destroying the party or remaking the party than the party having power. Like I actually think that some of them would be okay if we weren't in power, just as long as they have their seat and allowed a platform and voice. And that is a very dangerous, assessment for me. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I think there's like a lot of different things happening, right?
right.
There's there like we're so faction in the sense that nobody's listening to one another, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you have the DSA folks that are saying, okay, we want to focus on working people. Okay, we get that. But the people that majority support y'all are educated white voters. I mean, and younger white voters. Now, of course, there are younger black people and Latinos who are starting to listen to that populist message, and they do like it. They do like what they're saying
It's
because
a nice message,
because yeah, it all sounds great. You know what I mean? It
just
sounds
liking
good. And
strategy,
it's
which
also grievance is also a seller. I mean, we have to admit that
yeah,
Trump won on grievance. He won on grievance about Biden. He won on grievance about Obama. He is the grievance king. And so the MAGA strategy and the far left strategy is not much different in terms of
not at
grievance,
all.
in terms of populism, and yes, there is some appeal towards it. I understand why there are people who are gravitating. I mean, we talked about this on the last call about people who are saying that they want the party to move censor, but they also are okay with socialism. Like the two don't even mix together because people don't even know what they want anymore. So people hear the idea of socialism and they kind of understand the concept of it. Then you also throw in the mix of democratic socialism, right? I understand why it's appealing to certain people because people are frustrated with the way that things are going, especially in our economy, and it doesn't feel like Democrats are fighting enough, and so they're gravitating to something that feels like is expressing their frustration and anger, and that is how a lot of authoritarians get into power. I'm not saying
Exactly. While you're talking about this socialism thing, I was in a chat breaking up the echo chamber, so to speak. It was a Substack live. And it was just so indicative of, I think, a lot of the energy in that group. I feel like the Bernie Bros are part of that. It's that same kind of energy where, they actually were interviewing David Hogg. And of course, there were the people in there. Yeah, there were the people in there. You should be the chair. Okay, I didn't even touch that. But then they kept chatting and chatting, and then someone would say, "We need socialism in this country." And so I'm very diplomatic in my. I was like, no, I think what you mean is that we need more social safety nets and
exactly.
programs in this country. Oh no, he doubled down. no, we need socialism. The European countries, they're socialist, and people get this and people get that. So I came back very nicely. I'm sorry, you're wrong. I spent a decade. I lived in Germany for 10 years. They have strong social safety nets and programs and unions. They are not a socialist country. Oh, but he didn't want to hear that. And of course, it just kind of kept escalating. He's telling other people to ignore me. And then, of course, doing what, the idiot in the White House loves to do with Black women. She's stupid. She don't know what she's talking about. She's ignorant. Couldn't be that you don't understand the terms that you're throwing around. Couldn't be that you don't understand the countries you're actually talking about, like Norway, Finland, all those Nordic countries who do fall into that socialist government are very homogenous communities. They're
And
mostly white.
I feel like people always get it confused between social democrats, socialism, and democratic socialism. Like they
But
just throw, and even Trump does this. He's like the socialist. I hate when they say communist. Communist. Okay, I mean there are some people that are super communist, but the people. But if we're being honest about this, right? What I agree with you're saying. What people want is a society where people are able to have more social programs, an economy where capitalism is not the dominating portion of how we conduct our business. Because realistically, yes, there are billionaires and millionaires who run these companies, who are giving to campaigns. We have a whole ecosystem of capitalism that does not benefit the poor, and it does not, and the middle class is caught in the middle of it all.
right,
and
that's the
and the rich
excessive
keep getting
capitalism.
yeah, and the rich keep getting richer. So there is valid criticism of capitalism. There's valid criticism of social of the wanting more social programs. Because the question then is like, how do we pay for this? And then the argument turns into a whole nother thing, and it's like, well, we are spending too much money on wars, we're spending too much money on defense, we're spending too much. Meanwhile, the Republicans are cutting all of this shit that we have built for years. So yeah, we need to maybe like start focusing on how we have a majority so we can stop the bleeding first before we decide we want to blow everything up. Maybe we need to focus on the actual task at hand, which is November, and how we are going to gain back the House. Because again, there's no House gaining in power if we do not have the purple seats that are centrist seats to stay in power, or we flip some of those seats. That is how we gain power back. We're not going to have, like you said, a party that we're all going to agree on. I don't think there's ever been a Democratic Party where everybody just agreed on everything. There's been New Dems, there's all kinds of different, there's progressives. I mean, there's all these different types of groups within this party. And the question that I have for the DSA folks is, okay, you want us to embrace you, you want us to accept you, but you can't say you want to tear down the party and think that people are going to be like accepting of it, be disrespectful to Black voters, telling them that they're no longer the base, we're the base and we're taking over your party. Like, that's not a comfortable feeling for people, especially when your organization is 85% white. Like, you're leaving out a bunch of people. When you say working people, we know that you're mostly talking about white working people.
Language.
So we need to get to a place where we're having a valid conversation. But I don't think that we can get to that place, because all people want to do is argue. That's all they want to do is argue. Like, I try to have conversations with people on the left. I try to have conversations with people instead, but you know what I always get? I get insults. I get people telling me that I'm a centrist. I'm like, I'm not a centrist. You can't put a label on me. Nice try to put a label, because there's things that on certain things that I may be more progressive, and there's things that I may not be more progressive on. That's we are all a spectrum in terms of how we deal with politics. So you're not going to be able to put pigeonhole me and put me in a box. That's not where I reside. And some
Exactly.
things I have moved more left on. Some things I have stayed where I was originally. And but you're not gonna move me left by being disrespectful to me. That's not gonna work. You're not gonna make me change my views on certain things by being assholes. So maybe your approach is the problem, not so much the policy, because most of the policies we agree on. Stop being assholes. It's really not that hard.
It really isn't, and that goes to show you, as you said, that the amount of things that we agree on is not the problem. So that takes me back to what I said originally about them. It is excluding the people who, by receipts, represent the base of the party from your organization, from your conversation, from your consideration. Like, we don't need to consider you, and harm reduction voting is stupid. Well, that is probably because you are in a position of privilege where you have never had, intentional systemic harm inflicted on you. So you can brush that aside. Um, I just think that, essentially, we are going back to the problem that we always come up against in this country. It's a lot of racism.
Yeah, well,
Okay.
I mean, I can we can trace everything. People don't like to talk about it, but the fact of the matter is we can trace it back, and that's why I will not listen to anyone talking about class reduction when if you don't have if you have the audacity to ignore racism, because there are plenty of people who are rich, who are doing well, NBA players, NFL players, doctors, lawyers, whatever. And guess what? They're still facing racism. So if you're going to ignore all of that, if you there's poor people, the poor people are facing racism. So your classism doesn't really
It doesn't
resonate with
cover all
me
of us.
until we're having conversations about misogyny. We're having conversations about anyone who is marginalized, because yeah, it's great. There is definitely a haves and a have-nots in America. This is not a secret. How we bridge that gap, that's what we're trying to figure out. But if you're going to be an asshole about it, then no, we're not ever going to figure it out. I mean, when I looked at the numbers yesterday, there's been 120 in them incumbents who have ran in primaries. Only two have been flipped to be DSA or DSA adjacent or whatever you want to call them. I don't even know at this point. There's two. Okay. So
Doesn't
the
matter.
media also plays into this as well. And I just want to address that.
Bumping their heads up,
Right. And they're
making
like,
them sound like a
oh
huge
my God, oh my
takeover.
God, the socialists are taking over. They play into this MAGA thing where they start doing this. And really, realistically, the DSA is not taking over. Yes, they won in DC. You know what? She ran a better freaking race than the other guy who was in DSA. Sometimes we just have to give people credit for the credit that they do when they do run good races. She ran a better race. Her
Like
label, her
Mandami is an example of
yeah,
that.
and Mamdani is too, right? The label didn't matter to the people. What they heard from her is what they liked. And of course, the opposite happens in my district, where we have so many people running, and we have someone who, people had valid criticisms of, and ends up winning because, one, we have a low turnout, and two, we had every other candidate got some votes that split. So he ends up winning by 32% of with 32%, meaning 68% of the people wanted someone different. And now this is where we are, right? So, and you can't say, like, we pointed out, the money. I don't know. I spent many videos pointing out the money situation, and try to make people aware of how this election was going. Guess what? There are 68% of the people voted for someone else. So they heard them. So those people heard the message. The other people didn't. And I will say that the determining factor, I got to keep it real, was the fact that Governor Westmore endorsed him. Governor Westmore is the powerhouse here. He doesn't want to be called the establishment. I get it. Because he did, I will give him credit. He did endorse people from all spectrums, whether they were centrist, progressive. I mean, Will Jawando, love him. He is a friend. He is progressive, and he won in Montgomery County. We have Vanessa Atterbury. She'll be the first Black woman who will be a county executive in Howard County. That's a pretty moderate-ish place, and she won. Mine, we're going to have a woman who's going to be our county executive. If she wins, she's going to have a tough race, because my district is very much, well, not district, my county is very much independent, Democrat and Republican. We are split between the three, so you never know which way it goes. I think I told you guys last time, Angela lost and Kamala won in my county. So you never know how these people are going to vote. She has to run a good race against her Republican opponent. So you see that the governor does have, I said he has the juice. Listen, he does. I give him credit for it, because he definitely is someone who's involved. He endorsed like over 200 people. I think like majority of them won. 93% of them won. So props to him. There's only one that I wasn't really feeling, and that's okay. That's how life is. And I said in my video earlier, we're gonna have disagreements about candidates. We're gonna have disagreements about policy, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to be like, F Governor Moore because he endorsed so-and-so. Like, that's not how this works. Like, I am not happy about it. I am, listen, we have a Democrat that's going to be in the seat, and it's up to us, the people, to hold whomever wins accountable. The same way the people in New York are going to have to hold Daria Lisa and Brad Lander and Claire. All these people will need to be held accountable by their own people. And that's why like I said, we have elections every 2 years.
Exactly. And the thing, as you said, hold accountable, because the other thing that really ticks me off in all of this conversation around it is the blame being put on the Democratic Party. I'm not trying to say that they're perfect, but right now they're the only party that is fighting for progress and for democracy. But I feel that, let's see, lost my thought there. That, what was it that you said just before?
That,
Sorry.
that just said that we have to hold people accountable, and
That part. Okay. Now I sorry. But yes, that we the people have some responsibility. They keep blaming, the party, the party, the party. But, we get to determine what the party looks like.
exactly.
And that is by being actively involved, making our voices heard and known, because they, at the end of the day, are to represent us. And when they don't, we get to send them packing.
Right.
But I feel like the conversation is always around the party, and like we don't really have a say in making it up. But they seem to get that when they talk about taking it over. But I mean, that has to be something that is done on a regular basis. Like, you can't check in and check out every 4 years, on big elections or whatever. You have to be engaged at your local level all the time, because it really does bubble up to the federal level.
Yeah, and I just feel like people, like, again, if your goal is to destroy the party, not fix it, then yeah, maybe this is not it for you, right? But if you are legitimately trying to work within the system and want to change, because we all want to do that. We all are not. I don't think any of you ask any Democrat if they are satisfied with the Democrats as an entity, they will say no. But again, we also, like you said, we also have the ability to vote for people in our specific districts in Congress and say, or we have our governors and and there's a lot of barriers that go into this, right? Money is one of them, which we've experienced here. But I think that we also have to be honest about the fact that yes, people as much as they hate the status quo or say they can't stand the establishment, those are the people that are being reelected into office. Okay. So until you have a better candidate that can come along and can beat, because guess what? When Esbiat, when he wanted to get Charlie Rangel out of there, he tried 2 times. He lost both times. The third time Charlie decided to retire. And people still people still to this day have resentment because they said that he was being racist. They didn't even want to let him into the CBC because of the way that campaign was run previously. So there is a lot. This is not new. There's always been kind of it's just kind of funny to me that it kind of went full circle and came right back to Esbiat, because guess what? You did the same thing to Charlie Rangel, who was somebody that people respected in Harlem. I mean, they just
I
did.
mean, all over the nation, because I
Exactly. I mean,
remember
he has his
Randall.
own issues. He has his own issues, but people respected that. So it's like it kind of came back full circle. I mean, the Dan Goldman thing. I like Dan Goldman. But he won his first race with like 29% of the vote. I mean, they have been gunning for him all this time. They just got somebody in Brad Lander that people knew who was able to take him out. So that's how, if I'm a strategist and I'm like, okay, well, how is the DSA going to take people out? Well, you better find a good ass candidate to do it. You cannot take these people out unless you have a candidate that is willing to do the work and they have some financial backing, because let's be real, these DSA folks, they were just fine having super PACs that were helping them. Guess what? The Justice Democrats is a super PAC. Our Revolution, they have a super PAC. They weren't so intimately involved. There was other super PACs created to help them. So yes, you have to counter the money too, right? Because if SBI had backing from super PACs, they have backing. They were going back and forth with the ads and the mailers and all that stuff.
Well,
So
when you're in a political war, you can't
yeah, you
unilaterally
can't.
disarm.
Exactly. And that was always the case for them saying that. And I'm like, okay, the guy in Michigan, the Syed guy, I mean, they are throwing so much money at that race. It is actually disgusting to me to see how much money that I have seen being spent in that race to help the Haley Stevens and also outside, like there's so much millions of dollars that are pumped into these races that it is costing so much money to run races, defeat people, and yet we have poor people in this country. And that is where I cannot mentally just put this all together, that we have so much money being spent on elections. I mean, how much did Kamala had to spend? She and billions of dollars to be able to win Trump rate, because you have to counter their money.
Exactly. And until we get some substantial campaign finance reform, this is what it is. I mean, it just got turbocharged with Citizens United, but kind of money has always been an issue, and a factor in these things. I too, like you, am horrified to think about all the money that it costs, in elections, that people have to have when they run, which keeps a lot of good potential candidates out, because they don't have that kind of backing or those funds themselves. And I would like to see us have some campaign finance reform, but that's not going to happen until we get more Democrats, and more Democrats who think along those lines, because not all of them, some of them are okay with the money.
Yeah, a lot, because when it comes down to it, people are gonna accept the money if they feel that they could win. Whether it's from whether it's I know there's like a new group that was formed that's kind of like the anti-APAC group that is being formed to kind of go against, which, listen, they have a right to do it. If there's Muslim folks that want to put all their money into something, at this point, this is kind of where we are, right? It's a battle of money. And unfortunately, the super PACs are willing some of these people to win because they have that financial backing, and it's millions and millions of dollars. I mean, they spent $12 million in my little tiny district, New York. Oh my God! When I tell you the millions of dollars that were spent on Jerry Nadler's seat for the, I think the guy ended up winning last year. I think he's the one who ended up winning. I want I want to say it's like $40 million that were spent. The my
Think of the programs that could
Oh
have
my
been
God,
funded.
exactly. Maryland Six, which was David Trone, my favorite person, and April McLean Delaney. He spent $25 million. She spent 11 million of their own money. So at least it was their own money. But still, the average person is not going to be able to counter that. I mean, this is where we are. We are in a public campaign finance problem, and until we fix that, we are always going to have candidates that are disadvantaged. And it doesn't matter if you're a regular progressive, it doesn't matter if you're DSA, it doesn't matter if you're Joe Schmo down the street. If you don't have the power and the backing behind you, you ain't winning shit. And I saw that firsthand in this race. I saw it firsthand, and I hated every single thing about it, because you, what one person could make a phone call, and guess what? That person has power. They're gonna call the next person. That person gonna have power, and then they all come out and endorse, and the race changes drastically. Unfortunately,
Exactly. I mean, and that is just because we are a capitalist country, and as much as people hate it or whatever, I don't think that socialism is going to play well and work for us here. What we need to do is to put some regulations in place for our capitalist system to bring it back to a more normal place, because what we have now is just kind of capitalism on steroids and monopolies and all of these things, and we've been at this place before in our country during the roaring 20s, and we monopolies formed, and we had a period of time where regulations were brought and they were broken up. But during all of that crazy reign of, the rich folks, the robber barons, the oil barons, and the tycoons, what happened after that? The market tanked.
yeah,
And, now we have all these tech bros and stuff, I feel like um, kind of pumping up, the markets and um, making people trillionaires, and
yeah.
it's kind of like the dot-com period. It's like,
It's
they're
gonna crash
selling something.
eventually. You know it's gonna crash. Like it's bad, and like the crypto people spend so much money in my race, and it's not even like they're hiding it. You know what I mean? Like they come out and they're like, yeah, we got our guy. Like they're all, APAC is like, hey, we got our guy. Okay, cool. Thanks. For what? Like that's great that you got your guy, but what about the people? What about us? Because the voice of the people was felt through the vote. Yes, they that was the majority, but you weren't in this for the best interest of us. You were in this for the best interest of you.
Yourself.
And that is where my whole thing is about, what about the people? Like, what about the people? Because we keep forgetting about the people. And unfortunately, the candidates that are talking about the people would win if there wasn't so much influence of money in the mix, or we had a system where 24 people aren't running. I mean, when I looked at the laws in Maryland, I was like, oh my God, now I see why 24 people ran, because you don't even have to get signatures. You just have to be able to you just pay $100 and you can run for the seat. Literally,
Oh,
I could run I could have went and paid $100 and I could have been on the ballot, which is ridiculous.
interesting.
So they need to change that, because guess what?
Yeah,
We
that
have a problem.
that was crazy. I
You should
mean,
be able to.
California.
You should have to get signatures to qualify.
Yeah, California and their jungle primary, the long ballots and everything. I mean, it's hard enough for some people to focus on politics, but when you have a gazillion candidate, it's kind of hard to, you know, figure out which one
And it
will be best
and it
for
doesn't
you.
surprise me that people went with the person that had a million commercials with them. I mean,
Name recognition
if
is a
we're
thing.
being honest, there's a lot of the people that vote. Many of them can be lazy. and they're not going to do the research. They're going to go and they're going to say, oh, well, Westmore endorsed, or, Steny Hoyer, he's the congressman, he endorsed the person. We're just going to vote for
So
that person.
he must
I'm
be
not
good.
doing yeah, I'm not going to do any more research than that. I'm just going to vote for the person. It's the top of the ballot. I mean, people, any, many, money, mo. People do weird shit at the ballot. Like, you cannot make sense of any of this stuff, right? But as a person who does do research and who takes the time to try to explain stuff in pure detail and try to do it in like less than 3 minutes, it's really frustrating. It's a really
Yeah,
frustrating
I
thing.
get it. But kudos to you. You produce some really good videos and things about it, and
Well,
I
people
mean,
are going to be mad at me about it, but I don't care. They could be mad forever because guess what?
yeah.
I'm about the truth. I'm going to tell the truth regardless. So
And that
it
is what,
is.
the truth will set us free. Unfortunately, that is the problem because we haven't told the truth enough in this country. So, in our last
That's
15
what
minutes, we could go on and on about the elections,
I
but I kind
know.
of want to talk about, America, and we'll kind of merge these. America 250, this big celebration coming up, and the SCOTUS rulings and things, how, kind of like through history, we have had Supreme Courts who have um, not been very favorable for progress for Black people, marginalized communities. And then we have had periods where we had Supreme Courts who were more open to expanding our democracy and trying to be kind of in the moment where things had changed, recognizing things had changed, and using the law still to help to facilitate that change when we have had them rule in our favor. And I just think now that we have a court who doesn't care, and who doesn't want, who has the same vision as the authors of Project 2025,
Exactly.
and they're using their position and power to ensure that it is fulfilled. And so that is also going to be another issue that has to be addressed, like the court, because we'll never, we could have Democrats we could have a trifecta. We could have the entire Congress and the president, the executive seat. But if this court is still in place, you better believe the Republicans would use it to undo anything that was put forth, because I mean, they've proven that.
Yeah, I mean, this SCOTUS, I said it yesterday. I said I hate the Supreme Court. Like, I literally hate it. It's the result of people not voting in 2016. It's the result of people just not caring, and we are here. Like, people get mad when you say that, but I mean, like, we saw Mitch McConnell literally hold the seat, and y'all still stayed at home. Like, it was because y'all didn't like the email lady. Like, come on, man. This is the shit that really bothers me, because now we're stuck with this court. You weren't gonna feel it immediately. You were gonna feel it. Here we are. I always say 10 years down the line is when you start to feel it. We felt it. 4 years? What was it? 3 years ago with 2022 with Roe.
Hmm.
It's been 4 years. Is it 4 years already? Unbelievable.
I know, it's crazy. And
It-
I think that the voting population, like, we have young people who are just now coming into, voting eligibility age. And I feel like our education system has failed us and them,
We should have.
because a lot of them don't understand history. So now we've got to relive some history because people couldn't, they weren't taught, or they were, taught the lost cause version or whatever. So they embrace this kind of ideology. Um, and so we're going to have people catch up civically. And unfortunately,
Ms. D, this, you know, we have to. I can't even go as far as civics when people lack reading comprehension. I mean, they cannot even read. I am so serious. The amount of people that I argue with on Twitter and the stupid shit that they say, my God. The lack of reading comprehension alone tells me that a lot of these people should have been left behind. Okay. I will never forgive George Bush. We needed to leave some of these kids behind because a lot of them just do not, and they're grown ups now. They're not kids. That was in 2000. What George Bush was in 2000, early 2000s. These people are grown now. Okay, this is my
Mm-hmm.
daughter's age. They do not read properly. I will say something. It will literally be spelled out, and they're telling me I said something that I didn't say. I'm like, do you have reading comprehension? Because how you will never understand civics if you cannot even read basic stuff. It's out of control.
Exactly. It really is, and it's very frustrating. So I've unplugged a lot, and I don't know that that is a problem. That is just going to be. I recognize it as a problem. I try to do my part
Yeah.
in offering a solution by providing information. But I do understand you can lead horses to water, but you can't make them drink. And I am not trying to, I am just putting it out there because I don't know anything else to do. I
Oh,
can't
me either.
co-sign you're
Listen,
crazy,
yeah.
but I can offer facts and information and history. And maybe someday some of you will wake up and tap in, but we're going to be having this ongoing problem. We're going to be in the political wilderness until enough of the voting electorate does understand some of these things. I mean, the Obama presidential center opening was really, really a bright spot and needed. And of course now they are in the kind of conversations of America again a lot now, which I am loving because, the crazy was taking up way too much of the airwaves. So
Mhm.
this is a nice counterbalance. Tell me what you thought about the opening of the Obama Presidential Center.
It's amazing to me how grown Obama's girls have become beautiful,
Beautiful.
and it reminded me of that night when he won, and they were in the park, and just I remember just sitting in bed and just being so excited that we actually did this. And of course we're here now, all these years later, 20 years later. And was it 20 years? That's 2008. So I guess, I don't know, whatever, how many years it
Yeah,
is,
almost. Yeah.
18 years later, that we are in a place where we should be happy, but we're miserable because we have allowed someone who, what did Obama say? He said something to the fact, like, he said that Trump lives in his head, which is true. I mean, I'm sorry, Obama lives in Trump's
Yeah, like he has a whole
It's
suite.
like there's a whole suite in a penthouse up there. It's out of control. But Obama always to me was a bright spot. Whether you agree with him on policy or some of the things he may have done during his presidency, his aura, his everything about him always spelled like positivity and joy. And of course
Mhm.
Michelle too, right? I mean, she when with her mom, and it was like they were just the brightest spot during that time period. And here we are now with the most miserable person in the White House. And I'm so happy that they, when I watched the interview that he did on MS Now with Michelle, I forget her last name. I want to say Norris. But it was a really good interview. If you catch it, if you were able to watch it, he talks kind of like the history of why he chose that location, and
Yeah.
kind of walk through the center and kind of talk through, the hows and whys and what he did, and kind of the special things that he threw in there just to kind of make people see kind of the relevance of his presidency, and pay tribute to the people who kind of got him to where he needed to be. And it was just a great day of seeing people dancing and having fun. I saw Kamala, I saw, and my senator was there, and also Brooks was there. I mean, there were so many different people that were there, celebrities and whatnot. But it was just a joyous thing. And then we have to face reality of what we have: a man who is pissed off that somebody cut something through making up lies about his
The
reflecting
rest and Olympians to
the Olympian. Oh my God, that was so funny. And then has it covered all up, and he just lies and lies and lies constantly, can barely stay awake. Like, how did we like? It just makes you reflect on how we went from that to this in this time period, and how people have just let this democracy go to crap. Like, they really just have, because they decided that voting didn't matter anymore, or they decided that they hated Hillary, or they hated Kamala more than going to do their civic duty. And it feels like that was a time, 2028, I mean 2008, 2012, we were united behind this one person who was not perfect in any way, because Obama's not perfect. There's things that Obama did that I didn't necessarily love, but he still was the leader of the party, and I feel like we're still struggling to figure out who the leader of the Democratic Party is at the moment. And it's in fact it's him, right? I mean,
exactly. I
Barack
mean,
is
he
still the leader, but it's almost like, it's like he's in and out, because he's outside of the party, but he's also still very much a part of it. So it's like, okay, who's going to be, even before Obama kind of like ran for president, people were already watching him, kind of like how they're doing Westmore. They're kind of like watching and seeing what he's going to do and how he's moving and all this stuff like that. And I'm like, y'all are not going to turn my governor into y'all's president, because they already coming
not yet anyway. Do you
right
guys
now.
have term limits? Do y'all have term
Yeah, we
limits?
do. And he's running this time. He'll be there until 30. But it's just like, I can't deal with it. I cannot deal with it, because I already see how, people are like, but I also know that people will come for him on whatever stupid position that they find, like whether it's like they don't like that he called Gaza not a genocide, but called it a war crimes that Israel has committed. Like, people take, they're so, like, they have like semantics that they play. You got to say the word Gemini, genocide,
Right.
or we have a problem. Like, they're very, very pure, puritanical in that sense, that you have to say things and do things the way they want you to do it. Oh my God! Then you have the right people on the right side. They're like, oh my God, he lied about his military service. He didn't get a gold bronze. He lied about his bronze star.
Metal.
I mean, they come for him about the stupidest thing. But I don't know. I love Obama. I think he's great. I think his family is great. And I was happy he got. I was laughing about the fact that when Michelle was giving her speech, and she was like, look at me, and he's like, I know you're gonna look down, and he surely did look down. It was like a humbling thing, but at the same time, like, you're Obama, like you, but no one can humble you more than your wife. That's for sure.
Yes, I loved it. I loved how he brought all the the living presidents
Yeah, it too.
together, and they all seemed happy and very glad to celebrate this moment with he and Michelle. But I also loved, like, the culture, that he brought together, the musicians, the
So good.
entertainment, and I remember him doing that during his presidency. While some people lost their minds, I felt like he connected to a broader swath of our country. I feel like he was tapped in. He had his pulse on the country, the diversity, and what we're experiencing now. Of course, we understand that this is the white lash, the backlash that always comes with progress of
Yeah.
Black people. And I feel like, what he did was to remind us again, to give us a clear contrast. And again, unlike previous presidents or whatever, no shade on them, that he did, I feel like what he did with his presidency, he used something that presidents traditionally do, a library, a center, but he brought aspects of that center together. He created it, and my understanding, the only one who was ever that closely involved with the design and
Right. He
all
spoke
the
about that.
planning. And it was very intentional, and I love that because it was to give something back to the community, not just the building, not just archives and pictures of, dresses, as he said, of Michelle, but something kind of like our Constitution, something that represents a moment in time, but continues to live and will live beyond them, like to have interactive engagement with the people who come. So they're not just viewing, but they become part of it. I just love it. I think it's beautiful. I can't wait to go. I don't
So
know.
it really looks nice, and like I said, it's the little things. So when they were walking through, so there's like I guess when you walk in, there's they what they did was they mimicked it to look like a rose garden. So you have like it's like pictures of like it's like a kind of like it's not even I don't know if it's a mural, but it's lights and it has like like kind of like flowers. So it feels so because it was kind of like mimicking him walking from the west wing to from the east wing to the west wing, whatever way from the house into where he has to go to the west wing. I think it is where the president works, and so that was his kind of morning routine. And I laugh because I'm like the damn garden is now
Isn't he
like
even
this
there?
patio. It's just a freaking patio. God damn it. There's not even any roses in there anymore. Like this was something that he cherished every single morning, making that walk from one end to the other, seeing the beautiful flowers. And now it's just gold stupid things on the wall and up a patio with umbrellas and
Yeah. And fake arrest for a failed science project that he tried. I mean, any scientist probably could have told him, basic science and biology and things, that these things weren't going to, like what he wanted. And he's looking for the visual, the surface. And Obama, as always, provides the substance. I love the portrait of him and Michelle. It's like a collage that
Mhm.
has all of these pictures and moments within that bigger picture. And that was beautiful. And the fact that it was an artist that Michelle had wanted to, work with for some time, and what she did in order to produce that. Like looking at all of their interviews, reading all of their books so that she could drink in
It's the
who
thoughtful.
they were.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The thoughtfulness behind the whole entire center is beautiful. The fact that they gave Nancy Pelosi like a garden. I mean, they dedicated. There's like something for his mom. Like I saw a video with him and his sister yesterday that they
The
went to.
cafeteria for their previous chef. They have
Yeah, I mean, there's like so many beautiful touches that they had, and it's something that, like you said, it's different than what other people have done in terms of libraries. It's a cultural center. I'm sure there's going to be performances and things. This is kind of the joy that the Obamas brought. Like you said, they had how many concerts up in the White House that pissed people off. I mean, they really care about kind of how people view them, and they should, right? Because unfortunately, the man in the White House doesn't care how anyone views him. He only cares about himself. And I'm not saying that in like an egotistical way that they care, but they care about the community. They care about, the fact that this is a sensor that's going to be used like for multiple things. It's multi-purpose. It's a reflection of who he is and their family and what he's all about. And he is somebody who is always going to be part of our forever be a part of our culture. And
Mhm.
we should acknowledge that. And there's people that are going to hate Obama forever, not me. I mean, there's things that he's done that I don't necessarily agree with, especially in 2024, but I still think that historically he will forever be the person that I would that changed America for the good and the bad. Sad to say.
Exactly, because he was such a wonderful, long overdue change. Unfortunately, that change resurrected the underlying issue that has always resided in this country, and that is, the white supremacist, caste system that has always been part of our society that, many people want to gloss over and it or act like it never existed and that it still doesn't exist. They want us to live in fairy la la land with the myth of American exceptionalism. But I think that, anyone holding on to that is just, holding on to a
To the
dying breed.
Yeah, listen, people need to just face the facts. Listen, we live in a very white supremacist society, and many of the reasons why we're here is because, like you said, it was a white lash. Whether it was in 2016, whether it was 2024, that was even more worse because that was a white lash because they hated everything that happened with DEI. They hated the fact that someone killed George Floyd. Like, I mean, these are things that precipitated that whole thing, and then you just had people that just didn't bother to vote. So there's so many factors, and that's why I say when people are arguing about politics and where how we got here, it's not one thing, it's many things as to why we are in the situation that we're in now. But ultimately, if voters don't show up to vote, we are never going to have power back. We are never going to be in a place where we can actually make change if we do not have majorities, because at the ultimate end of all of this, it always comes down to math. Like I hate math. I
It's
don't like,
about numbers.
but it always
That part I do get, and I like that part. Like, I understand, like I said, the big overarching thing, like, it's gotta be more of us voting for more of the candidates
right.
that
Now,
we
how do we
want.
motivate? When I looked at, just so we wrap this up, like when I looked at the voting turnout for my state for primaries, I'm like, oh my god, people just really didn't come out. Is it Trump? Is it Trump fatigue? Is it that we had too many candidates? Is it that we had not enough candidates? Are people just checked out? Like, what is it that is going to make people show up? Is it that people are, because we have closed primaries? Is it that people just didn't show up because a lot of people have changed their affiliations to independent? But then you can't complain about, then you can't complain because the how we conduct primaries here. So if you don't, you can change your status to be a Democrat if you want for temporarily. I mean, it's just a lot, and I just worry that people still are not fearful of what we see as fascism, or the rise in white nationalism, Christian nationalism. I don't think people still see the risk because their anger towards whatever issue they have, whether it's the Democrats or Republicans, lack of power, no power, not doing enough. You cannot have power unless you actually have the numbers to do it. And until people understand the correlation between math, civics, and voting, we're not going to be in power. We're not going to get anything done.
Exactly. I mean, and I think that's kind of a good note for us to kind of wrap things up on because truly, I don't know. I feel like maybe we're going to have to just fall deep into the fascist cave, and everybody in the country starts to feel pain and hurt, including the people, some of them in his inner circle, before people start to wake up and fight back, unfortunately. Because, all these people that want all these things, whether that's DSA candidates or whatever, whatever it is that, concerns or issues that you have, changes that you want, they only are able to take place in a democratic country under a democratic, governance. Because in fascism and Christian nationalism, all of those things, that's dictated usually by a select few, one guy, and it never works out for the good, for the majority of the people, not even some of those on his side helping to push it through. Didn't work out for, the common folks. And I'm just afraid that, like you said, because people are so stupid, that we are going to, I mean, I feel like this should be enough of them touching the hot stove, but apparently it's not.
Yeah.
So
I don't know what it's gonna take for people. Like, we went to a war. He said we weren't gonna go to war. We went to war. He said gas was high. People got mad for a minute. They moved on. I mean, I get it. People want to live their life. They don't want to focus on politics. But politics doesn't stop because you don't care about it. It's gonna keep on going, and they're gonna do whatever they want if you don't show up. And that's the part that concerns me, is because I really think people are not recognizing, and unfortunately a lot of people never recognize things until it's too late. And
Mhm.
I would think that right now is too late, but maybe it's not, still not too late for some people, because they want to feel more and more pain.
Exactly, because as somebody who's watching over or listening over on Spoutable said, they're going to cheat. So,
No, they're definitely going to cheat. That's not if they're going to cheat, they're going to steal, they're going to say it's rigged. I mean, they're going to do everything, and they're going to probably have the National Guard somewhere. I mean, they're going to
it's going to
intimidate.
be ugly.
That, and I think that is partially why people are frustrated with politics, because they don't see Democrats pushing back hard enough. It's not so much, we know you can't do anything policy wise, but it's the rhetorical piece of it. I think we've talked about it before. The rhetorical piece of it is where it's lacking sometimes, and it makes people feel like the Democrats aren't doing enough. So, and I will give some of these people credit that are on the left. They speak up, they say how they feel, and sometimes, I mean, Mamdani doesn't hide how he feels about stuff, and I kind of respect it. You just tell people how you feel. Some people may not like it. Some people don't like what my governor says. He's gonna say it regardless. So I need people to be honest and be truthful, especially elected leaders. People trust you. You have to
Now
be honest about
yes,
what's
and
going on.
now is the time to be bold,
Yeah.
to
I don't
really
want weaklings.
speak up.
I don't want weak people in office. I want
Mm.
people who are going to tell the truth, to be transparent, to say what needs to be said, and stop being punks.
Exactly, exactly, because we're going to get punked all the way into fascism, and it's going to be
Yeah,
a hell of a
we're
lot.
like pretty much like 80% there. So
Exactly, exactly, and that's why I say it just seems like this should be, like far enough right now, but I don't think it is for some people, and we're just gonna have to keep working on our plan to survive it all, even though like we see it coming. It's kind of like hurricane preparedness. you
yeah,
know?
yeah. Some people ain't prepared. Um,
Exactly, if you stay ready, you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, and, I mean, Black people understand what is happening here. I think there are a lot of other people who do not, and, it's gonna be a shame, and it's not going to be pretty, but, I 'cause that we're just gonna have to wait and see, and everything that I do, as I said, I just keep speaking to the issues, but, you can't make people listen. You can't make them understand,
listen,
you know?
listen, we've been doing this for like a year now that we've been having our show.
Yeah, we just passed our anniversary. I
Yeah,
forgot to talk
I
about
knew it
that.
was sometime around May, June.
Yes, it was in May. I forgot to, announce that, but
The whole
yay!
year that we've been doing this. I mean, having the conversations, trying to inform people. I mean, you have your beautiful post that you post on Substack. You have your show on Spoutable. I do my videos whenever I'm pissed off and got or have some kind of mission that I'm on to try to make people understand stuff.
Yeah, but you and I were doing this, having these
I
conversations
know,
even long before that too,
way
in
long,
group
way
settings. Yeah.
long. Yeah, way long before that, right? I mean, it's just a lot, and I think we all get frustrated, we all get tired of kind of what's going on, but ultimately I don't want to fight with the left. I don't want to argue with them. That's like the last thing I want to argue with Republicans. I want to kick
Yes.
their ass. I don't
Yeah.
want to argue with people who I agree with 90% of the time. How we
Right.
get there and at what we do, yeah, we can have like little like disputes about how like incrementalism and progressivism and how we change things. That's not what we're arguing about. We're arguing about something totally different, and we have gone way off the rails here. So
Mhm.
we need to bring this all back in and figure out a way that we can work together. Because if you don't want to work as a team, then you shouldn't be on the team. You should go be in another team. But we
Exactly.
got to work as a team, and that will take for people who are on the in the establishment side, people on the left side, people who are centrist, people who are progressive, liberals, whatever the hell you want to call yourself. We're all
Independence.
gonna have
Yeah.
to start listening to each other because those people have a message that is resonating with some people, and I'm listening to what they're saying. Some of it I agree with it. Some of them I'm like I'm scratching my head a little bit, but we all ultimately we have to start listening to people, and we do not listen, nor do we comprehend. Not me, but other people do not comprehend well enough to see that we have to work together. There's no I hate the Democrats and I'm going to be a Democrat. Like you can't those things don't work together. Like if you're a Democrat, you're a Democrat, you vote, you do what you do. Maybe I don't necessarily like the outcome of elections, whether it's a person that I was opposing or maybe someone I was for. But we have got to work together. There is no winning unless we work together. And sorry, I'm gonna leave it on that because this shit pisses me off.
I heard that. Well, I am wishing you a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I know you have um,
Yeah, tomorrow we have
your
our
panel
yeah, our
tomorrow. So
Maryland
talk
summit is
about that.
yeah, our Maryland Democratic Party summit is tomorrow. So I will be on the panel. It's gonna be great. We're talking about winning in the digital age. So I'll be curious to see what they're gonna ask me because it's me, it's myself, Isaiah Martin, Elizabeth Booker Houston is joining us, and Josh,
Oh,
who is cool, and it's gonna be fun to have that conversation because we all do different things. Like all of the
right.
panelists
Yes.
kind of have different approaches to how we talk to people, and so I'm curious to see how it's gonna go. But it'll be fun because ultimately that's the whole point of it, right? We're the Democratic Party, and we're trying to figure out how to win elections, and
Yeah.
that's
That's
what
the
we want to
goal.
do. Elizabeth is much further left than I am. Josh is
Mhm.
probably like a little bit kind of like around the same place. And Isaiah, I don't know where the hell he's at. He's all over the damn place. You know Isaiah. You know what I mean? Like he's always fighting with Republicans. Like that's what he does. So we all educate in different ways, and I appreciate that about it. But yeah, tomorrow's that, and I'll let you guys know when the video posts because it's gonna be recorded, so you all can
Awesome.
see the conversation. So it'll be fun.
I I'm looking forward to it, wishing you, a great time. Like you said, it sounds like fun, but necessary because I think that's a big part of the problem, so I'm glad at least the Maryland Democratic Party is trying to work on addressing that Democrats don't know how to, um, advance their message in this new digital age with this new media, and they're going to have to get better at it because the old classic cable and mainstream shows are not the place to be. They're not carrying your message, and oftentimes I feel like they undermine them because they
Exactly.
bring them on and then they bring on other people that really kind of undermine the messages and stuff that they have. So anyway,
All right.
have a great
Have a good
one.
weekend. Talk to you later.
All right. Bye bye.
Bye.